to really reshape, how this country produces energy, but also a challenge to remake systems that are entrenched and that have been around now quite a while, and to do it in time to address the climate crisis. So really briefly, these are the partners in the Region III TCTAC. At the core sort of organizing center are the CEEJH Center, bringing us all here today, and the UMD Environmental Finance Center, as well as my organization, National Wildlife Federation, or NWF, and several others who each are state leader or hub leader, as we are calling them, in the different states of EPA Region III. These are our primary partners, and if you see anyone up here from your state that you know, or maybe you don't know yet, please do reach out. We're looking for additional organizations and experts and service providers to get engaged. Okay, now, today's panel, of course, is focused on energy justice. There have already been some really tremendous sessions during the symposium on energy justice, so I don't think we're going to be going into a lot of sort of 101 discussion of what that is. But here is one brief definition and reminder for the context in which we're talking today. There are lots of facets to energy justice, and we may all have slightly differing definitions of what it entails. But here's one definition: achieving equity in social and economic participation within the energy system while remediating social, economic, and health burdens of those historically most vulnerable. And also closely integrated with this, of course, is energy equity, which refers to the fair distribution of energy resources, benefits, and burdens of energy production. So more background on energy justice, if you'd like to do more reading on this, and what it can mean is actually we've got some materials on the NWF, National Wildlife Federation table out in the foyer area there, so feel free to pick some up. So today we're going to be focusing, though, on one aspect of energy justice, in particular related to clean energy, access to clean energy and the new economy. What does it look like for multiple sectors to work together to make sure that we build a new energy system that brings people in and delivers benefits for everybody? With that, I'll turn to my esteemed panel here, and they'll be introducing themselves and giving opening comments. And then we'll have some questions prepared for them to get conversation rolling, but we'll also hope to turn it to you to answer, to ask questions that we can answer. Kimberly, you'll be up first. Do you mind introducing yourself and telling us about your organization and how it works to address clean energy justice?
Hello. Okay. Yes, I'm Kimberly Armstrong. I am one of the co-founders for Baltimore Green Justice Workers Cooperative. We are located in Baltimore City, and our mission and goal is to educate, empower, and engage people in our community around clean energy. I have been in renewable energy probably for a little bit over 15 years. My primary focus was solar, and now it's offshore wind. Our organization was funded through the Maryland Energy Administration to develop a wind pilot program. And so we are focused on looking into how do we engage and get more people of color and more people in underserved communities in clean energy and the clean energy climate, also workforce development. So how does that happen? You have to get out into the community and let people know that these things exist. Offshore wind has been legislated in Maryland since 2017. However, very few people even know about it, especially people of color. So one of the things that I'm very big on is that sometimes things that happen in our community, we don't know about it because it's either not being shared and the information is not being disseminated properly. So I'm like, we are sometimes the last ones to know about things. So I said to my co-founder, Lynn Pender, I said, let's not do solar, let's do wind, because very few African-American organizations were even thinking about doing wind. So we just wanted to make ourselves different, but also how we can be more inclusive in our community, educate our community about these different kind of opportunities. Because sometimes we are like on the shore, and the boat has already sailed, and we in the water swimming trying to catch up when the boat has already gone. So this is more so about developing a offshore wind safety training program, and how it is that we can develop like a pre-apprentice, like get them to start thinking about what kind of industries, what kind of skills, what kind of apprenticeship programs that you can get into, so that when offshore wind really starts to take off, we're not behind the boat swimming trying to catch up. We can be on the boat.
I next? Hi, everybody. I'm Robin Lewis. I am with Interfaith Power and Light, DC, Maryland, Northern Virginia. I'm the Director for Climate Equity. So we work with congregations across the region to help them respond to the climate crisis. And we also work with them to help them go green, help them advocate for legislation that will enhance the environment. We serve as a technical support for congregations. So just a few things. I primarily work with the Black church, educating and helping them engage in environmental justice issues, which is inclusive of jobs, inclusive of housing, inclusive of other water issues and other things like that. At IPL, we are doing a lot with congregations right now. There's well over 150 congregations now in this region that have already went solar. And some of them have went solar with power purchase agreements before the Inflation Reduction Act. Some of them are considering using direct pay. Which is directly owning. So what we do is we have various programs. We have a Solar Shepherd program in which we speak to congregations and ask them what they need and try to help them, guide them and point them in the right direction for resources and things like that, and explain to them the different options that they have. We work with congregations on benchmarking. In DC, for example, there is a law now that buildings over a certain size have to benchmark their emissions. So we have a person dedicated to helping congregations satisfy those requirements by law. And we also work with them in Montgomery County. Hopefully this benchmarking will help them become more energy efficient and also consider their energy needs and reduce what they use, as well as go solar. If they haven't already, look at electric vehicle charging stations, whatever they need. We try to help congregations with resources. We serve as a connector. That's what we are at Interfaith Power and Light. So for those congregations out there that need any assistance, help, they need to know where to go in reference to their energy needs, we're there. We're also doing electrification. We're pushing, hopefully, pushing legislation in Maryland that will help low and moderate income folks electrify and move away from fossil fuel burning in their homes, which of course most of us know is very toxic to breathe in fossil fuel, which is gas. And we're also working in DC with the Healthy Homes Act, which does just that, provides resources to residents so that they can convert to the new and efficient energy or stoves, electric stoves, and other HVAC systems that are more energy efficient. So we're just really trying to push, because congregations are leaders. Congregations serve as examples for the community. When you see solar on a congregation, guess what? The community says, well, maybe I can go that way. Or maybe I can join with community solar, which Kim is very familiar with. So we're really excited. So, come see us. Our table's over there.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Strong. I'm the Offshore Wind Sector Assistant to the United Steelworkers of America. I'm a lifelong resident of Baltimore. I've been a proud steelworker for over 40 years. And in 1998, I went on staff for the International. And around 3 years ago, because of our relationship that we developed with U.S. Wind, I was asked to be the point person to help work with U.S. Wind to bring the manufacturing of monopiles and towers at Trade Point Atlantic. Now, Trade Point Atlantic, it used to be the home of the largest steel mill in the world, Bethlehem Steel. This location will be on the shipyard side of Trade Point Atlantic. So if you remember going over the Key Bridge, that area you would see is where this facility is going to be built. But we're going to make the monopiles and the towers, which is going to create, at full capacity, around 550 jobs. We're still in the early process of getting permitted, which we think will happen at the end of the year. We're in the process of putting together an apprenticeship program, to help train a workforce that's going to make these monopiles and towers. Now, just real quickly, what are the monopiles? Well, once they're completed, they're going to be about 2,500 ton. They'll use about 5-inch plate steel, which will be rolled and then welded. They'll be made in cans, and each one of those cans will be welded to make one structure. And when that structure is completed, like I said, it'll be about 2,500 ton. The tower will use a smaller grade steel, but they also will be around 1,500 tons in steel. Once they're completed, they get barged and they get shipped out down to the Patapsco, out to Chesapeake Bay, then out to Ocean City, where they're going to build the farms. There's going to be 2 wind farms. The first one is Marwind. The second one is Momentum. When both projects are done, it'll create about 1,710 megawatts of power, and it'll take about 114 turbines. The long-term goal of Sparrows Point Steel, though, is to be the center for all offshore wind production of monopiles and towers up and down the East Coast. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Terry. I serve as the Equity Outreach and Community Development Manager at the Maryland Clean Energy Center. I'm very honored and excited about this opportunity to share with you how our organization works to make sure that clean energy is accessible and affordable to all Marylanders while also driving economic development across the state. So a little history about MCEC. We were established by the General Assembly in 2008 to serve as the state green bank. Our mission is to advance clean energy and energy efficiency as key components of Maryland's economic growth. We believe that clean energy isn't just about economic sustainability. It's also a powerful tool for economic development, job creation, and improving the quality of life of residents. So our efforts include offering procurement and technical support for project development. We facilitate access to capital. We foster climate tech innovation. And my favorite part about the work that we do is bringing it all together by engaging in consumer outreach and education. Now, the work that we do can't be accomplished alone. We rely on collaboration and networking and partnerships to achieve collaborative and state goals. So we work with state and local governments, private sector partners, community organizations, and residents together so that we can ensure that the energy transition is not only successful, but also just and equitable. So by the end of this discussion, I hope you all take into consideration how we can leverage our resources, our expertise, our connections, and work together to drive economic development, create a sustainable and equitable future for all Marylanders. Thank you.
Hello. My mic isn't on. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. There you go. Hi. That's awesome. You can hear my voice now. Hi, my name is Corrine Taylor. I'm Associate Director of the Office of Community Engagement at the U.S. Department of Energy. By a show of hands, how many people knew that the Department of Energy had an Office of Community Engagement? Okay, I've got some work to do. I've got some work to do. And maybe the reason why you weren't aware is because we're barely a year old. Secretary Jennifer Granholm requested that this office be created, just acknowledging historically that the Department of Energy has not been a place where community organizations and nonprofits like yours have felt invited, have felt welcomed. Historically, we might have been on the other side of the aisle in terms of where our projects were located and how that was impacting you. So our office was created, and we've staffed up within this last year with the goal of literally being the front door for communities to figure out, one, what programs are appropriate to support you, and then if there's some issues, how can we help you advocate for yourself through that? So I'm happy to be in this role. Many of you in the audience I know just from my time working in the environmental justice space, so happy to see a lot of familiar faces. I do want to share, I placed a blue postcard on everyone's table. That is our email address and our phone number. So if there's a specific question that you have about a Department of Energy program, or you want to call us, you could literally get engaged with us by emailing getengaged@hq.doe.gov, or call us at 202-586-0822, and we respond to that, any kind of outreach directly through those means, as well as our general email address. But if you all haven't been aware, essentially, through the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, this is the largest investment that the federal government has made to not only address the climate crisis, but to also address environmental justice and provide resources to many organizations like yours. Many of you in the room have started to benefit from some of those dollars. But what I am very aware of is that for the Department of Energy, there may not be an awareness of the resources that we have, whether that be our grants or the technical assistance that we provide. Between IRA and Bill, we have over 90 billion, and that's billion with a B, of dollars in grants, and over 400 billion in loans that we are trying to do a very good job of not only increasing awareness about, but helping demystify some of the the experience that many people have had with the application process. We'll talk about it more, but I wanted to also let you all know that we host virtual office hours. Our next one is coming up this coming Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So if you use the email address or the phone number that I shared to get more information, please ask for that link and we'll send that right to you so you can join us on Wednesday to hear about some programs that are currently available at the Department of Energy that we'd like for you to apply for, or if not, share with your network. So looking forward to the conversation today and also to connect with you all afterwards. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you all so much. I think you can see just by their intros that there's so many different angles on solving this problem and really improving access to clean energy, as well as cleaning up our environment and our climate that we could have and that we all need to have and have engaged in the solution set. So as you really have hit so well the nail on the head there, Karine, but for everyone would like to ask this question, we're of course experiencing a major moment in history where billions of dollars in climate solutions are being directed to clean energy, to electric vehicles, clean manufacturing, and the jobs related to them, resilience, and other sorts of climate projects in communities all across the country. Can you share how you view this moment in time in terms of energy justice and energy equity, and what you see as potential opportunities, but also perhaps pitfalls to make sure that we take the best advantage of this moment that we're in?
Don't let everybody speak all at once. Okay. I think that because there's so much funding coming down from the federal government around this issue, is that I see this as a positive because it gives more people an opportunity to really be educated around environmental justice and workforce development and how you can simultaneously work in the same with the same kind of organizations and people who actually have the funding or is getting the funding, especially around workforce development. And I find some of the challenges is that when you have federal money attached to things, is that everybody has their hand in the kitty, right? So I remember when really hardly very few people or organizations was talking about environmental justice. Now everybody is an environmental justice expert. So that's where I see some of the pitfalls at, right? And so sometimes it can be frustrating when you attach funds to an organization and really not have good, you think you have good intentions, but sometimes you don't see how the outcomes of those intentions really can end up harming a community. But some of the benefits that I see is that what we're doing is creating a workforce that will help to really give skills for good paying jobs. These are good paying jobs. And what we have gotten away from is labor jobs, like actually using your hands, you know, like welders, carpenters, plumbers, masonry. And these are all jobs that are going to be needed in the clean energy economy, especially around wind, right? So just giving people an opportunity to, what I like to call aha moments, you know, like, oh, I didn't know that. So sometimes when I'm out in the community and I'm talking about offshore wind, especially in urban community, I live in Baltimore City, people look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, offshore wind? What is that, right? So I go into detail and explain to them and talk to them, and that this is legislation, right? So it's gonna happen. It's taking a lot of time, but also gives us an opportunity to prepare people in our community. So that's what our organization is looking to do. So we're providing like soft skills, helping people who may not have the best reading or math skills. So we have incorporated a GED program. Our population target is 25 and older, because you may have people who are looking to maybe change careers or maybe want to get into the wind industry. So we offer OSHA 10, you know, so it's different kind of things that we can do now to prepare our community. So that's where I see a lot of the opportunities at.
Okay, I'll go next. So when it comes to houses of worship, first and foremost, it is a very personal discussion. It's very trust-oriented. So it takes more time to build trust with people of faith. So once you do build that trust, you know, it's good, but that requires a lot of our time. And so capacity is an issue. And as Kimberly mentioned, a lot of money is coming down the pike, but it's coming so fast that people don't even have time to out. But guess what? Okay, there we go. Guess what? As soon as I said TikToks, right? I'm not putting it down. I'm not, no shade. Okay, but they're so new, and they need to build capacity in order to help. So we at IPL have been doing a lot of technical support. We actually have people dedicated to have conversations, because we have established trust with congregations. Of course, you know, that's our focus. So, you know, the issue I find is congregations not knowing, or houses of worship not knowing exactly what they want to do or where the money is, or they may want to do energy efficiency, but they may have an old building, and so where's the money associated with that? And when it comes to some of these smaller congregations, you know, they're being required in certain areas to do things, and they don't have the bandwidth, the resources, the capacity, and of course we are here to help and guide and connect, but all of that requires capacity. And capacity, of course, as you know, requires people. And so that's a challenge for us, and in the faith community, just kind of helping congregations with identifying exactly what they need. Some of them are big enough to know, and you know, move towards climate resiliency hubs, which are things that we're trying to push for energy sovereignty and other things like that. But some of them still need basic energy efficiency things. So, you know, we really do need more technical, when I say technical support, I don't just mean talking to people, I mean also helping them write the grant and identify what grant they should go after. You know, instead of just saying, well, there's the money out there. Well, what do I go after it for? I need a roof before I can get solar, okay? I need windows, you know. So these are the things that we're finding challenging right now. And, you know, one more thing, direct pay versus power purchase agreements. There are options now for congregations with regard to solar, and they need to understand which option works best for them. So that takes time. So that's the challenge we have in the faith community.
Anyone else?
I want to dive into the economic benefits of offshore wind, specifically U.S. wind. I'm sure there's somebody out here in this group that had a relative that probably worked at Bethlehem Steel. Maybe not, I don't know, anybody? Couple? Bethlehem Steel was the largest steel plant in the world. Because of its capacity, it was known as the Beast of the East. We have the opportunity in Maryland to create the new Beast of the East in offshore wind development. When we look, and again, a lot of this was made possible under the Biden administration, under the Inflation Reduction Act, because there was a lot of incentives put in there to help developers invest in offshore wind. When you think about what we're going to do at Trade Point, we're going to have a facility that, when it's at full capacity, as I said earlier, will have about 500 plus jobs, and these are just not regular jobs. These are going to be good paying union jobs. But what does that also do for the area? It brings other supply chains. We know that there's another company called Helena Cable that plans on building a facility right across the Patapsco that's going to make the cables. They're looking at employing around 200 to 300 workers. And I'm sure there's going to be additional supply chain manufacturers that will come to help supplement this offshore wind development. But as I said earlier, this is just not about the two projects that U.S. Wind's going to develop, that being Marwind and Momentum. We plan on being the supplier for any developer up and down the East Coast. And just recently, we had two other developers that successfully bid on leases off the East Coast, off of, I believe, Virginia and maybe Delaware, that it's our plans to maybe be the supplier of monopiles and towers for them. But this, look, I don't know anybody, look, with all the problems that we have, one thing that cures some of these problems, or most of them, is a good paying job with benefits. You know, and that's what we're going to do at Trade Point, at U.S. Steel, or U.S. Wind. We're going to make sure that we have a highly trained workforce, and that highly trained workforce is going to receive the compensation that they deserve in making those monopiles. Again, this is an exciting industry. You know, the announcement was made in 2021. We're now in 2024. We expect by the end of this year to receive all our federal permitting. So there'll be some on-site construction work starting next year. Sometime at the end of next year, we'll be putting and advertising our apprenticeship program. We're working with the Baltimore County Community Colleges, specifically the Dundalk Community College, where we're going to purchase the equipment, house it there at their facility, where that we'll have people going there through their apprenticeship program in the areas of welding and CNC operations. So again, this is going to be great opportunities for the state of Maryland, and I look forward to answering any questions that you might all have.
Hey, Jim. Either Corinne or Terry, you want to add anything?
Right. As someone who is consistently out in the communities working with residents and community organizations, I hear all the time that they share the same sentiment as my fellow panelists here. You know, lack of access to resources, lack of access to connections, the misconception of what the benefits of clean energy are for residential consumers, for multifamily complex owners, building owners, commercial building owners. And this opportunity is a great platform to make sure that these resources directly address the disparities that are felt across Maryland. So some of the pitfalls include risk of inequitable distribution of the resources, and the challenges of ensuring that all of the communities have the capacity to manage the resources once they do receive them. So this is where MCEC comes into play, because again, we do offer that technical assistance, project procurement and support. And as the Equity Outreach and Community Development Manager, I strive to empower and inform residential consumers so that they are aware of the resources that are available in their communities at the local level, at the state level, and federal opportunities as well.
Well, I'll close out. Some things that I'm genuinely concerned about as we are pushing so many funding opportunities out of the door is just the reality that applying for grants at the Department of Energy specifically, but the federal government across the board is confusing, right? We use different language. You know, if you're at the Department of Transportation, you might call a funding opportunity a NOFO. If you're at the Department of Energy, we call them FOAs. Like, we do not speak the same language. So I can only imagine what it's like being on the outside trying to figure out where to start when nothing across the board makes sense, right? So that is one clear problem. Another issue, too, is that these applications are voluminous. It might be 100, 200 pages. You might need a technical expert, an engineer, or something like that to contribute to your application. And then we've added this new thing called a community benefit plan requirement at the Department of Energy. And so there are a lot of people who don't even know how to respond to that portion. And that isn't helpful to you all. And so what I wanted to share is there are more innovative, smaller dollar funding opportunities that are available to you that are called American-Made Challenges. If you go to that website, American-Made Challenges, it's a program that we call, they're prizes. They're 20-page applications, a video, a slideshow, et cetera. We've reduced the application process significantly to kind of widen the opportunity for communities, for nonprofits like yours to apply for federal dollars. You're not required to be in SAMS.gov to apply for some of these. And in a traditional funding opportunity where even after you've been announced as an awardee, you may not see that money for another year, right? These awards allow you to get paid within 90 days. And there is a reduced requirement also for some of the accounting on the back end. Now, to be clear, while we're doing our best to reduce the process to apply, what that also means is that the amounts of these grants are a lot smaller. So these might be $50,000, $200,000, depending on the subject matter. So I really encourage you all to kind of look into these, what we call prizes. And there's 16 of them that are open right now that vary from good clean energy jobs, solar manufacturing, doing a whole host of different things. And there are a number of environmental justice groups that I've spoken to and encouraged them to apply that have been successful. So please look into the American-Made Challenges. If you Google that, it'll lead you to a website that'll list what's currently available, and then you can go through the process of walking through that. So while we get that it's hard, it's still worth the attempt to go after these bigger funding opportunities, but acknowledging those challenges, we're creating avenues for getting more smaller businesses, nonprofits, et cetera, through the door a lot faster through that American-Made Challenge platform. So please look into it.
Sounds very encouraging. As someone who is part of one of the longer government application processes for a grant. That's really exciting. Great, thank you all so much. That was really a wonderful, robust conversation already. With an eye on the clock, I think maybe I'll ask one more, possibly two, and then turn to the audience and see if you all have questions. This one in particular, sort of following up on what Kim and Jim have talked about, but anyone can answer, of course. Diving a little bit more into what's needed to ensure that current and future workers can be part of this new clean energy industry and the economy growing from it. What would you say, we've heard certainly about U.S. wind and the steel industry's relationship with that and labor. What might be other clean energy industries that you think are doing well in terms of preparing for a diverse, skilled workforce, and maybe what could be, going a little better, from your point of view?
I think that the manufacturing industry is what's really growing, to be honest with you. So when you look at what U.S. Wind is doing and some of the other wind companies are doing and developing these kind of partnerships, because I'm already going to have Jim come and talk to our second cohort of students. So it's also about developing these relationships, right? So as you look around, you see a lot of construction going on, happening right out here, because I got lost and I had to figure out how to get in here, right? So what I see in renewable energy, so there's a lot going on around solar. Now putting solar on universities, hospitals, big buildings. Also getting it out there around community solar. Community solar is a Maryland also mandated legislation. The permanent program was just passed last year. So now you have people who cannot get solar on their roof can actually participate in the green economy or participate in getting solar or renewable energy. These are things that we need to put out into the community to let them know that it's accessible to them as well, because that's the whole goal, is how do we make clean energy accessible to everybody, regardless to where you live, regardless to what your income is, right? So these are some of the things that I see that can really be beneficial to our community, because when you talk about solar installation, you may need a manufacturing company, hopefully American-made a manufacturing company. You need electricians. You need journeymen. Now there's legislation where so when you install the panels anywhere, you have to have a journeyman on site. You have green building standards now. So this is like an ever-growing kind of economy as we think about how it is that we really can help everyone to participate in the green economy. Because now you have building standards that have to go by green building standards. Like Robin was talking about, some of the things that they come across is energy efficiency. A lot of older homes don't have energy efficiency. A lot of older buildings don't have energy efficiency, or it costs so much to make them energy efficient that they just don't want to do it, or they don't have the capital to do it. So these are the things that we can help build upon. And as I was talking to Jim about, is that with our organization is like a bridge to his organization, because they're going to have apprenticeship programs with the colleges. We are like the entry level to get them just thinking about where they can go. Now, whether they want to go into an apprenticeship program or maybe they want to do something else. So we don't want to put people in the box and say, you're going through this program, and yes, it's called offshore wind, but we're going to make you do wind. No, that's not what we're trying to do. We want you to think outside of the box and think where it is that you can grow. This is just a starting point, and where you want to go is up to you. So in developing these kind of partnerships and looking at what we can do, especially when it comes to offshore wind, because as Jim stated, is that it's a growing economy. It is, this is growing. I was also telling Jim, I live in Baltimore City. I'm driving down the street and I see a bus that says Trade Point Atlantic. Driving down, not too far from where I live at. So it's making it more accessible as far as transportation, but how many people really know about it? So the key to it is that how do we get the information out to the people who need the information in order to make it better for everyone?
It is about building partnerships. One of the things that I do in my role in working with U.S. Wind is, we're working with the economic development of both Baltimore County, Baltimore City. We've been reaching out to the various community colleges. We've even reached out to some of our VOTEC schools. I went to Mervo a few times to visit their trade schools. We've toured a facility called JARC, which is in Baltimore City. We've established that's a great organization. It's a nonprofit organization that help people that are looking to turn their life around, learn a skill in the area of welding. So we've been working with them, letting them know that, hey, we're going to eventually look for you to help us supply the qualified workers we're going to need. We've had outreach with the communities. I know there's a lady here, Gloria Nelson. I don't know where you're at, but she's with Turner Station. A lot of history there when the Bethlehem Steel was there. But it's about partnerships. One of the biggest challenges we're going to have is getting workers. And I know that because under O'Malley and under Hogan, I worked on the Maryland Manufacturing Advisory Board. And what I consistently heard from other manufacturers, well, we can't find somebody who'll pass a drug test. And if they do pass a drug test, we can't get them to work the whole week. And number 3, we can't get the skilled laborers that we need. So we know that that 550 is going to be a challenge. That's why we're trying to build as many relationships with organizations to help this. This is a new industry. Takes generally 5 to 7 years for a startup, and we're on schedule to be producing monopiles in 27. Again, we feel that by the end of this year, we'll be fully permitted. There'll be some groundwork on the site starting next year. There's an existing building there that they're going to refab, and then they're going to build the new facility, which will be called Sparrows Point Steel. But again, this brings a lot of jobs, construction jobs, the supply chain jobs. So Maryland has the chance to be the hub. And if you and one of the other good things about this project is that the governor, when you've heard him maybe on the news talk about offshore wind, he wants Maryland to be the #1 producer of offshore wind monopiles and towers. So it's about partnerships. It's about educating people. It's about finding good qualified people, give them the opportunity to go through apprenticeship programs to learn these jobs. Again, these are going to be high-paid jobs with benefits. And again, I'm glad to have the opportunity to come here. And again, if there's any specific questions, I'll try to do my best to answer.
All right, thank you. Any last burning thoughts? Yes.
I wanted to just add to that the data is incredibly important. One thing that the Biden administration has done consistently is release our annual energy jobs report. And the energy jobs report recently came out, and the numbers are very encouraging about the growth in the energy sector. But when we break things down by demographics, we're seeing an increase in Hispanic people being employed in the energy sector, but unfortunately, Black people's percentages have stayed pretty stagnant. It's about 9% of the energy sector that is Black, and we are 13% of the US population. So all of these examples that were just shown are critical in making sure that and we know this by and large as being health advocates and EJ advocates, our communities typically are impacted first and worst by the climate crisis. So we should also benefit and be able to be a part of those solutions. And it's critical that we get more young people aware of these job opportunities. We know, as a college graduate myself, a law school graduate myself, I believe in higher education, but college is not for everyone. And when we know how the middle class was built here in America, union jobs were critical to that. So getting more people of color to be a part of this energy sector is critical, particularly as we
to make those. I know that our union has always been a strong advocate of using steel or other products that are made here domestically. The vast majority of the steel that will be going to U.S. Wind, the good news is it's going to come from steel plants in this country. Unfortunately, they're going to be non-union plants. Nucor, which is building a new facility in Kentucky, will be producing the vast majority of the steel plate going to U.S. Wind, as well as another steel plant in, I believe, Texas. But they're non-union. But again, they have to make their steel in accordance with the engineering controls that are set by OSHA, EPA, and whoever. Okay, but yeah, coal's still used, but the impact of it in making steel is not like it used to be at Bethlehem because of those engineering controls and regulations that are in place in making steel. But remember that carbon footprint for steel made anywhere else but here is probably 5 to 7 times higher, the carbon footprint, and that's the same way with solar panels. That's why we were always an advocate in Annapolis when we would hear about solar companies. We would always say, well, let's make those solar panels here in the United States. Let's put our people to work, and let's make sure that the panels that we're using are as safe in the production as we can toward the environment.
All right. Oh, yes. All right, this will be our last one. Thank you.
Kim Gaddy, I am your neighbor. I'm coming from Newark, New Jersey with Southwood Environmental Alliance. And I guess my question is around the technology and virtual reality. We have a solar and a wind training program for our youth. And one of our wind partners used the Oculus. And our students can actually see themselves, building the turbines. And similar to how we started off with the loaning of the air monitors and things of that nature from EPA, but we need to own that equipment. And oftentimes when you write proposals, right, and because this is a new industry and a new area, how can we be assured that if we want to place this kind of technology or this kind of equipment in our proposals, that it will be supported? Because if I would not have the High Point Wind Company to partner with us to start training up our youth, we wouldn't have access to that equipment. And similar to us purchasing the purple air monitors and those things, how can we now own the right kind of equipment? Because you need to let our children and the young adults experience what it feels like to be a part of this industry, right? And so these are just the questions, that I want to put out there, because you said there's money out there, but oftentimes you put these things in proposals and they're not being supported.
I wanted to share, there's a good jobs, clean energy jobs prize that is open right now. I recommend you going to American Made Challenge and looking to see what the requirements are. I believe the time period to apply is pretty wide. I think it's due at the top of the year. And right now, if you're saying that you do a workforce development program, if you are saying you're focused on energy, I think you should feel comforted that there are a lot of programs. And you've already mentioned that you have a partnership with a company that's helping you get that. When you apply for some of this funding, when you list and say that you have a private entity being a partner, if you have a union as a partner, those kinds of things increase the likelihood of your success. And let's talk right afterwards. I want to see if I can connect you with people in the Office of Energy Jobs at the Department of Energy, just so that you can get a more robust understanding of what they offer. We also have a program called RAMP, where we're placing young people as fellows across the country to support communities to develop their workforce development. And I know there's an interest in having people with tribal communities in places like Newark, but then all over the country. I want to make sure that you get that information, so as you apply, you probably already have a lot of these things in your network, but just connecting you to the right opportunity. So let's connect afterwards.
That's fabulous. Thank you. And I'm afraid we have to stop because we're a little over time, and I know the next session is starting in just about 6 minutes. But I just wanted to thank our panelists so much, and one out in the audience, so much for being with us today and for sharing your perspectives. I feel like we could have a whole symposium or conference just on energy justice. There's so much here. So thank you very much. And if you'd like to learn more about the TCTAC, feel free, and you'd like to get involved, even better, you can Google NWF, National Wildlife Federation, and TCTAC, and it'll take you to a page where you can sign up and get engaged, and we'll be back in touch with you. And it sounds like DOE's got some great resources on their website, as well as every organization represented here today. So please check everyone out online. Thank you so much.